and we are the #1 agricultural state in the United States, $59.4 billion farm gate value in 2022, our most recent years of doing that. And dairy is #1 as far as our #1 agricultural product by value. And we would not have made the progress that we've made on greenhouse gas emission reductions and other advances in sustainability without the commitment of our dairy families. These are privately owned, longtime, multi-generation families like all states, and they have really leaned into sustainability and are providing tremendous leadership and partnership, and I can't thank them all enough. I appreciate all their trade associations that have been leaders in all of this, and acknowledge that it's because they are a generator of so much value, not just from milk going into a processing plant, but all those elements of milk that are providing nutrition on a global basis. It's also the fact that the care and stewardship and the investment in genetics in both our dairy herds as well as our beef cattle, as we know, genetics are the best pathway forward for us on so many elements, including the most efficient producers, which can keep our products affordable. Dairy in this state produces about 20% or a fifth of the milk that's created in the United States of America. So it's a very important commodity, and the families that represent that are important. And beef, many people don't think of California as a beef state. I confess, I'm from Nebraska. You know, my dad would have let us have beef 3 times a day because he thought that was the only thing that should be on the dinner, breakfast, and lunch plate. But beef is an important part of the California landscape and the California history, and our beef sector, with their rangeland management practices, are proving that they are a critical part of healthy watersheds and wildfire prevention. So let's hear it for our beef producers in California. It's our 4th most valuable commodity in California. And for those of you from other states, we're like the mama cow that sends all the calves to all of you to feed out to make sure there's beef available around the world. When it comes to our emission reduction goals, I think everyone's very aware of how ambitious they are. By 2030, to reduce carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide and other greenhouse gases 40% below 1990 levels, but also the very infamous SB 1383 to reduce dairy and livestock methane emissions 40% below 2013. The estimates based on all the calculations that we try to do, working with industry on being able to use the numbers that they have collected so diligently in industry, is that on the methane emissions from manure management, we're at least 50% towards that goal. That's a remarkable thing to think about, considering that this law passed in 2014, and the dollars for incentive grants followed after that. So think about how remarkable that progress has been. But our carbon neutrality goal is to achieve that by 2045, and there's a lot of work to do in that. And that's where thinking about how these are a critical part of a circular economy for the renewable fuels, the renewable energy, the other products can be part of healthy soils, really extracting all those nutrient values for replacements for synthetic fertilizer. This is not only reducing greenhouse gas emissions, it's really also providing additional value streams and revenue streams for our farmers in a time where cost of production and other pressures on markets make it even more important that we think about every product on the farm, every byproduct of the farm, and think about how it can be repurposed to generate revenues. And a very significant partner in the work that we've been able to do to achieve these goals thus far and continue our pathway forward are our friends from CARB, the California Resources Board. I have to tell you, our Air Resources Board is made up of a number of world-class scientists, and if we have CARB partners in the room, honestly, these people are fantastic partners. They're the ones that are doing the monitoring, the measuring, the calculations, the working with private sector to see what is feasible so that we're not just setting numbers in a vacuum. These folks work very hard, and we're very appreciative of our partnership with CARB. It's very rigorous work. A lot of it depends on what you all are doing in the university systems, and also learning from each other on an international basis. We work closely, and I'm proud to say we have a number of memorandums of understanding with many of the countries that I mentioned earlier. That's important for us because I have found no matter what problem we're working on, we can achieve better results faster and better if we have these kinds of partnerships. And all of ours start with this pyramid approach of government to government, farmer to farmer, but importantly, academia to academia. Many times when we sign these MOUs around sustainable agriculture and climate-smart agriculture and water use efficiency and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, it's our academic partners, because of already established partnerships on a global basis, that have the relationships that are the first step of making progress, working together, to setting up those webinars, to hosting, visiting delegations, and to learning together, sharing knowledge that will actually produce the kinds of results that can work here and everywhere on an international basis. It's a huge part of the work that we do. So I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish thus far, and as a reminder, there have been real investments that have been made. We, at our renamed Office of Agricultural Resiliency and Sustainability, used to be called OFI, and I hope if Dr. Tanimata and others from the team are here, you raise your hands so people can also seek you out. They have worked hard. Are they in the back corner? That's not right. This is not church, you guys. Come on. But we really want to support the industry working with their private sector partners and academia in pursuing better genetics. We know that's a long-term pathway to sustainability, to better feed, and I know there's a lot of work going on into that, including feed additives and better technologies on farm, and that's where our most cost-effective strategy to reducing methane emissions has been our dairy digesters, through our dairy digesters and research program. They are a hard one to defend in this state because of other kinds of issues, but they are one of the most cost-effective, results-producing strategies that we have. This is producing renewable energy. It started out as electricity. It rapidly went to the low-carbon fuel standard and being able to be a part of the transportation sector. It is really important that we think about the co-benefits that come from doing our climate work. And in this state, where air quality is such an issue, where we have a major farming region, one of the best in the world, in a valley between two mountain ranges, in a state with 40 million people, and probably at least 100 million trucks, at least that's what it feels like on I-5 and 99 in the valley. Air pollution is a problem, folks. There's transport issues, there's diesel issues, there's traffic issues. These renewable fuels are a step towards a really clean way of driving, but can reduce air pollution now, can reduce the incidence of childhood asthma now. These are hugely important transitions on our way to carbon neutrality, and I hope that we're able to continue them. I also have to note that we have our first dairy from over a year ago that's gone manure to digester to fuel cell to hydrogen for city buses and trucks, and that's an exciting step as we all invest in hydrogen and the hydrogen highway of the future. So, excuse me, our incentive programs. I want to start with the research because most good solutions start and come out of research. We have climate grants for our livestock methane measurement, mitigation, and thriving environments research program. That's because this was a topic very important to the legislature about 3 years ago, I think. And one of the authors of that was really a keen champion to making sure we were investing in these types of technologies. We had 3 categories for the grants that went out. One category was for verification of methane reduction strategies, really working on validating greenhouse gas estimates for pre- and post-alternative manure management practices, as well as dairy digesters, and a deep dive evaluation of the alternative manure management program. Alternative methane reduction strategies, there were 3 grants for enteric methane on that one, field work on things like assessing seaweed and other products, assessing the potential of feeding byproducts for enteric methane mitigation and developing a standard for researchers and design of their studies for their enteric methane studies. We also had manure recycling and innovative products. This came out of, I'm probably one of the few secretaries in the country that gets to talk about cow poo all the time, that also has a working group on manure products and recycling. I mean, this is important stuff. It's not just milk that matters, right, Virginia? But this is looking at, it's a partnership with Fido on duckweed, which could improve nutrient management from digesters while decreasing methane and addressing excess nitrogen in some of our water systems. So hugely important to get the results on that. We also have a livestock enteric methane emission reduction research program, and I didn't get a chance to look at the posters, but hopefully some of those projects are advanced enough for some poster displays, which would be great. I also want to note, as much as I love funding universities in California, this is open. We have opened our research program to make sure we've got the best researchers and the best opportunities for brilliant scientists to work on these programs across the country. We had 6 projects that were funded through that, looking at everything from evaluating additives and dietary modifications, to, again, the feed and other outcomes that can happen from that. In total, this Office of Agricultural Resiliency and Sustainability has awarded 353 cumulative on-farm grants on methane reduction on livestock and dairy farms with other co-benefits. It's very important for us that we think about air quality and water quality when we work on these things, in addition to the neighborhood issues, the traffic issues, and everything else. $371 million have gone to farmers and ranchers to implement climate-smart solutions on farms and ranches, excuse me, in addition to the $14 million in total that we've invested in research on methane emission reduction. The result of that is based on good modeling and estimated reductions, is that we've sequestered 27 million metric tons of CO2 equivalents over the lifetime of these projects. That's remarkable when you look at the totality of all of our incentive grants for healthy soils and everything else, which is a little over 30 million metric tons. So let's hear it for dairy and livestock. They've stepped up into this really big time. So, I want us to start calculating the number of truck equivalents we're taking off the roads after I said there's 100 million trucks in this state. But that's the equivalent of 6.4 million cars on the road. So that's happening. Solutions on the land, leadership from our farmers and ranchers, being able to be part of the solution, leading the way, and producing healthy, nutritious food for food security for citizens here and around the world. But what's next? The work has to continue. California itself is going to go through a little bit of a bumpy ride with our current budget reductions the way that they are, but the governor and the leadership have signaled that this is the year they really want to make sure that we do the work to extend our CAP and renamed CAP and Investment Program. Very critical that we do that. That's an important signal to the marketplace, which at the end of the day, the markets have to be a very important part of generating the investment dollars and the rewards for making these kinds of transitions. Our Cap and Trade program, now our Cap and Investment program, which is a more accurate name, is that it won't expire for a couple of years, but we want to give at least a 10 to 15-year signal to the marketplace. This is going to be work that continues. These are the kinds of engines we need. These are the kinds of technologies that we need. This is the kind of innovation that we're counting on. Obviously, you're all here because enteric methane emissions remain the most complex and challenging of these issues to address, so I'm looking forward to the findings of this report. I have to give a shout out to the Clear Center and Charles in particular. You all get the proceedings out from this conference faster than anybody else I ever. Usually it's a year afterwards and I'm like, was there really and truly a conference? I don't remember that one, but you do good. You must not do anything else during the rest of the year, Charles. I don't know. Anyway, we're really looking forward to working with all of you because at the end of the day, if there's one thing I've emphasized and I want us all to remember, no one person, no one state, no one country can do this alone. You know, we're part of a subnational effort that can get this work, let momentum going even when federal administrations change. We created this subnational methane reduction, whatever it's called. Virginia will remind you of that. But it's really important. If your country's not a member of that, you'll come up and remind them what the name is. Please talk to Virginia, because this is a good place for us to share resources, information, and generate what is needed to continue this momentum going forward. It's about collaboration, it's about partnerships, it's about openness to new knowledge, it's about openness to different perspectives of being able to accomplish what goal that we all share at the end of the day. And that is a healthier planet, healthier people, and the opportunity for those that produce our food and care for our land to be profitable. Profit is not a bad word. Profit allows for reinvestment and innovation to be pursued successfully. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate your attention. I'm so thrilled to see this ballroom filled, because it wasn't just 3 short years ago. Obviously, something's going right, and it's because we know how important it is. So let's go, team. Thank you.